Giacomo Casanova, My Escape from the Piombi Prisons, Act 1 of a 3-act screenplay by Buonocore. Screenplay adapted from Giacomo Casanova's Histoire de ma fuite des prisons de la République de Venise, qu'on appelle Les Plombs, écrite à Du, en Bohême, l'année 1787. First draft, April 2010.
Black screen. A man's sonorous voice. There is a hint of sadness. It is almost a lament. Man's voice, VO. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say. What was this forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear? Fade in, close up, int. The face of an old, distinguished man against a backdrop of bookshelves, overflowing with old tomes and manuscripts. Day. Man's voice, same sonorous tone. I see now it was for just and wise reasons that the state inquisitors of Venice imprisoned me under the Leads, for I had become unwise, reckless, and a peril to others and myself. Such are the sins of youth. Sighs, but I was convinced I had done nothing wrong and thought myself not guilty of anything. I was innocent. Consequently, I determined I could not long remain locked in a cage like a bear. My will to be free would not permit it. Thus, on the 1st of November, 1756, after 15 months of confinement, I managed to escape from those horrific prisons, a feat never before accomplished by any other man. Throughout my life, in the salons of the finest houses and palaces of Europe, I was always requested, indeed required, to recount the story of my flight from the depths of hell, an account that none ever tired of hearing. And now, I, Giacomo Girolamo Casanova, Chevalier de Saint-Galt, Venetian, shall also recount it to you.
Dissolve to. Int. Casanova's cell in the Piombi prisons, August 25th, 1756, 397th day of imprisonment. Day, dawn. Tracking. Venice, August 25th, 1756. We are inside a cell located in the garret of the Ducal Palace, housing the Piombi prisons. The cell is silent and dark except for the dim, flickering light of a small terracotta oil lamp. The lamp's flame casts a soft glow on the face of a naked man lying prostrate on the wooden floor of the cell and peering into a large hole he has cut into the floor. The man is tall with disheveled shoulder-length hair and a dark, full-grown matted beard. The heat inside the cell is stifling and sweat from his body drips onto the floor, pooling around him. The man is Giacomo Casanova. Lover, adventurer, gambler, soldier, philosopher, priest, magician, etc., a true Renaissance man. It is his 397th day of imprisonment under the Leads. He is 31 years old. Suddenly a loud screeching of bolts is heard as the jailer Lorenzo and his guards open one by one the doors in the outside garret leading to Casanova's cell. Casanova instantly jumps up, picks up a sharply pointed iron pike that is lying beside the hole in the floor, and hastily hides it in the stuffing of a large armchair underneath its seat cushion. He then drags his bed over the hole to conceal it before hurling himself onto it. Reaching over to the lamp, he snuffs it out and slides it under the bed. All is now in pitch-black darkness. A moment later, the cell door is opened. At the door is Lorenzo holding a candle in his hand. Lorenzo, I congratulate you, signore, on the good news I bring you. Get out of bed and come with me. Casanova, give me a moment to get some clothes on. Lorenzo, there is no need, signore. You have only to leave this vile cell and go into another that is well lit and brand new. It has 2 fine windows from which you will have fresh air and an excellent view of half of Venice. And the ceiling is high enough that you will be able to stand upright. And then, Casanova, nervously interrupting, go tell the secretary that I thank the tribunal for its kindness, but in God's name I prefer to remain where I am. Lorenzo, scoffing, don't make me laugh. Have you gone mad? We want to remove you from hell and put you in paradise, and you refuse? Come, you must obey. Get up. I will have your clothes, your books, and the rest of your goods brought to your new cell. Lorenzo puts his arm on Casanova's back and gently guides him out of the cell into the garret. Once out, he orders one of the guards to bring Casanova's armchair into his new cell. They all walk down a series of dark, narrow corridors, entered through small, metal-lined doors. A larger, brightly lit corridor is then reached that has two big grated windows from which a great part of Venice can be seen spanning as far as the Lido. The door of Casanova's new cell is at the end of this corridor. It also has a grated window opposite one of the corridor windows from which a prisoner can enjoy much of the view. A cool, gentle breeze blows in through the open windows, tempering the unbearable heat of the Piombi. Lorenzo has the armchair brought into the cell, and Casanova falls heavily in it. Lorenzo then locks the door and leaves with his guards to retrieve the rest of Casanova's belongings. Casanova lies sprawled in his armchair facing the cell's grated window, looking out at the Venetian landscape. He is in a state of utter and total shock and disbelief at having been moved from his cell only days before, carrying out his long-planned escape from this horrible prison. Death itself could not have brought worse suffering than his present catastrophe. Dissolve to. Flashback. EXT. Bird's eye view of Venice. Day. A little over a year ago. July 26th, 1755. Before us lies Venice, Queen of the Adriatic. A brilliant sunrise over the Venetian lagoon augurs the beginning of a glorious summer day. Shimmering in the morning sunlight, we see the Grand Canal, the principal water artery of this opulent city. Lazily navigating up and down this majestic waterway, lined on both banks with ornate palazzi, are gondolas, barges, and fishing boats. The scene is a timeless veduta from a Canaletto painting. Cut to. Int Casanova's home, day, dawn. Inside, Casanova lies soundly and serenely asleep in a large, Baroque canopy bed. By his side, her hand gracefully resting on Casanova's shoulder, lies a remarkably beautiful woman with long, auburn hair. Their faces a picture of love and idyllic tranquility. The door to the bedroom suddenly bursts open, and Messer Grande, the chief of police, barges in, accompanied by two of his constables. Messer Grande is a tall, muscular man, and his presence fills the room. Messer Grande, in a loud, authoritative voice. Sir, wake up! Are you Giacomo Girolamo Casanova? Casanova, roused from a deep slumber, is momentarily startled, and looks up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. The woman, also startled, sits up, pressing the silk bedsheets against her breasts. Above him, Casanova sees the towering figure of Messer Grande. Casanova answers sleepily. And whom do I have the honor of addressing at this ungodly hour? Messer Grande once again bellows out his question. Messer Grande. Sir, I ask you again and command you to answer. Are you Giacomo Girolamo Casanova? Casanova, annoyed. Yes. I am the person you seek, and kindly stop your cursed screaming. What is it that you want? Messer Grande. You, sir, will deliver to me whatever papers you are in possession of, whether written by you or anyone else, and once you are dressed, you will immediately come with me. Casanova sits up on the bed, not knowing who the person before him is. Casanova, mildly concerned. By what authority do you give me this order? Messer Grande. It is by the authority of the tribunal. Astounded and now fully awake. Casanova. The tribunal? The state inquisitors? In a state of shock, finding it difficult to believe what is happening. Casanova, Conti. All my papers are on the table at which I write. He points to the only desk in the room. Casanova, Conti. You may take them all. Messer Grande is brought a sack by one of his men, which he immediately begins to fill with Casanova's papers. Messer Grande. You must also surrender certain bound manuscripts to me, which I have reason to suppose you possess. More specifically, you will surrender the Key of Solomon, the Zacorbon, a Picatrix, and a treatise you possess on the planetary hours. Casanova. I see that the jeweller Manuzzi has been speaking to your grace. Had I been aware that he is also employed as a spy, I would have been more careful in my dealings with him, though I do not think any of this literature is in any way harmful to anyone. Messer Grande, authoritatively. It would seem, sir, that the Serenissima is not of the same opinion. Casanova, disdainfully. Very well, then. You may take the books and manuscripts, most are on the bookshelf, and the remainder are on the desk and bedside table. In addition to the books mentioned, Messer Grande collects many other books, manuscripts, and letters. Casanova, Conti, again disdainfully, I see, your grace, that the Serenissima is also interested in Ariosto, Horace, and Petrarch. Messer Grande ignores Casanova's question and continues filling the sack. Casanova, in a daze, in the meantime dresses. He dresses neither slow nor fast. He makes his toilet, shaves, has his hair dressed, and puts on a shirt adorned with lace ruff, over which he puts on a fine coat. During all this, Messer Grande never takes his eye off Casanova and does not object to him dressing as if he were going to a wedding. Messer Grande, when you are ready, sir, you will do me the courtesy of following me into the drawing-room. After he is finished dressing, Casanova enters the drawing-room together with Messer Grande. Casanova, surprised. 40 constables sent to secure my person. You do me great honour indeed. Only 2 would have been necessary, your grace. Messer Grande, matter-of-factly, we will now go outside, sir, where a gondola awaits us. XT outside Casanova's home overlooking a canal. Messer Grande retains 4 of the 40 constables and sends the rest away. He then motions Casanova into a waiting gondola whose prow is adorned with the winged lion of St. Mark. Casanova boards the gondola and sits down, and Messer Grande sits beside him. Casanova, may I ask your grace where it is that I am being taken? Messer Grande, matter-of-factly, I have been ordered to put you under the Piombi. Casanova sits quietly in disbelief as the gondola slowly winds its way in and out of shadows cast by buildings lining the sides of the many small canals. Upon entering the Grand Canal, a glowing sun over the lagoon bathes the gondola in a glimmering light. After a short trip, they arrive at the Canal Rio del Palazzo next to the Doge's palace, and everyone disembarks and enters the new prisons. Ent. The new prisons and crossing the Bridge of Sighs. Messer Grande, Casanova, and the 4 constables go up several flights of stairs and then cross a high enclosed bridge, the Bridge of Sighs, which connects the prisons and the Doge's palace over the Canal Rio del Palazzo. They then walk past one room and enter another, where before us stands a man dressed in patrician robes, Domenico Cavalli, the secretary to the Venetian inquisitors. Messer Grande, Your Excellency, I bring before you Giacomo Girolamo Casanova, the man that the tribunal commanded that I arrest. The secretary instantly fixes his gaze on Casanova. Secretary to the inquisitors, in a dismissive tone of voice, E quello, mettetelo in deposito. That is him. Put him away. Casanova, disdainfully, are you ashamed to pronounce my sentence, Messer Cavalli, that you address me in the Tuscan language and not our Venetian? The secretary says nothing, but turns, walks away, and leaves the room. This is the extent of Casanova's trial and sentence. Messer Grande, to Casanova, Sir, I will now leave you in the hands of the warden of this prison. May God have mercy on your soul. Messer Grande also turns and walks away, leaving the room. Lorenzo, the prison warden, holding a bunch of large keys. Follow me and these 2 guards, signore. We will take you to your new living quarters. Casanova is made to go up 2 flights of stairs and through a series of galleries separated by locked doors. All this locking and unlocking takes some time. Finally, they all enter a very large, dirty garret, badly lit by a dormer high up on the roof. Casanova, in a somewhat disgusted voice, Then this is the prison I have been condemned to. Lorenzo, with a wry smile. Not at all, signore. Their excellencies have given you other more suitable quarters. Lorenzo inserts one of the large keys he is carrying into the lock of a heavy, thick door lined with iron, 3 1/2 feet high, with a round hole 8 inches in diameter in the middle. The door is opened, and a dark cell can barely be made out, into which Lorenzo orders Casanova to go inside. Casanova hesitates for a moment, noticing a metal device fastened on the wall. Lorenzo countered, with a smile and glee in his voice. I see, signore, you are interested in knowing what this device is for. I can tell you. Fixed to the wall can be seen an iron fixture shaped like a horseshoe about 1 inch thick and about 5 inches wide. Lorenzo countered, When their excellencies decree that some person be strangled, the prisoner is made to sit on a stool with his back to this collar. His head is then positioned so that his neck goes halfway into the collar. A silk cord is then run through these two loops in front of the collar, leading to a winch that a man turns, tightening the cord, until the prisoner gives up his soul to the Almighty, and thanks be to God his confessor does not leave him until he is dead. Casanova, repulsed by the explanation, I take it, signore, that you are the one who has the honor of tightening the winch? Lorenzo does not answer and motions Casanova into the dark cell, which he must stoop low to enter. Lorenzo locks the cell's door and asks Casanova through the grating, What shall I bring you to eat? Casanova, cavalierly, I've yet to think about it. Lorenzo grins and leaves. In the background can be heard the clanging of all the doors he locks behind him as he leaves the garret's prison. Int Casanova's cell. Piombi prisons inside the garret of the ducal palace. Sestiere di San Marco. Casanova is beside himself, stunned and bewildered to find that he is condemned to such a horrible place. From a corner of a dark cell, a voice is heard. It is Paralis, an invisible intelligence to all except Casanova. Paralis, softly chuckling. My dear Giacomo, how is it that they have locked you up in these foul quarters? Why, only last month I warned you of future happenings. I would have though you had more regard for my prognostications. Momentarily taken aback that there is someone else in the cell, Casanova barely makes out a ghostly apparition. Casanova, somewhat relieved in a shaky voice. Oh, it's you, Paralis. By God, I believe I'm going to be sick. Already hunched over because the ceiling is too low to accommodate his height, Casanova falls to his knees, straining to vomit. Paralis! Now, my dear Giacomo, pick yourself up. We have been in other difficult situations before, though I dare say not quite as bad as this, and managed to survive. I have all the confidence that we will survive this one as well. Casanova gets up, but again he is forced to hunch over. He goes to the cell's door and rests his elbows on the sill of the grating and looks out downhearted. Casanova, somewhat annoyed. Survive this. And what would you propose I do, my carefree Paralis? Sprout wings and fly out? Tell me, how am I to escape through this 2-foot hole crisscrossed with iron bars 1 inch thick? I do not even have proper light to see in here with that roof timber on the other side of this grating barring what little light is allowed to come into this stinking pit. Paralis, come, my dear Giacomo, do not despair. All is not lost, you shall see. We will escape from this ghastly place. Casanova, irritated. What is this we, my frivolous spirit genius? Nothing can stop you from leaving this prison whenever you wish it. I, on the other hand, cannot leave, as I am bound to this carnal body. Have you come to torment me, Paralis? Paralis, surely, my dear friend, you have not lost faith in me. Why, there is nothing we cannot accomplish together when we put our minds to it. Even this accursed hole they have put us in can be defeated. You will see. Casanova, perhaps you're right, Paralis. I must confess that even I have at times been surprised by the accuracy of your obscure predictions, although I'm not such a fool to believe in all this nonsense. After all, remember it was I who created you, imagined you out of thin air 10 years ago. It was for the amusement of serving as a Delphic oracle for my adopted father, the illustrious but often credulous Signor Bragadin and his 2 companions, Signori Dandolo and Barbaro. Paralis, ah yes, my friend, Signor Bragadin, your patron and his 2 friends believe in me. They are infatuated with the occult and the Kabbalistic sciences, as they like to call our work. After all these years of consulting me for the gratification of that both wise and foolish trio, I must say we have developed a relationship of sorts. Casanova, yes, strangely enough we have. You have taken on a life of your own. You have become my inner voice with whom I converse when in difficult situations. Well, then let us find a way out of this dungeon. Casanova begins to survey his dark cell, keeping his head down because the cell is only 5.5 feet high, while he is 6 feet 2 inches tall. He finds mainly by groping that he is in a 12 by 12 foot wooden enclosure with a small corner alcove. There is no bed, chair, table, or any furniture. The only objects in the cell are a wooden bucket for the needs of nature, and fastened on one of the walls a shelf 1 foot wide. On the shelf, Casanova meticulously places his elegant cloak, his fine suit, and his hat trimmed with Spanish point lace, and sporting a white feather. Casanova, Conti, mildly panting. My God, this heat is unbearable, Paralis. Dazed from the stifling heat, Casanova goes to the grating, the only place where he can rest by leaning on his elbows at the grating's sill. Outside he sees the garret dimly lit from light, coming from a dormer window beyond his view. Paralis, and what is it that you see out there, my dear friend? Any sign of that miserable jailer with food and refreshment? Casanova. There are hideous rats outside the size of rabbits. Oh, how I loathe these abominable creatures. Look at them under this grating, they are fearless. Afraid that the rats will get inside the cell, Casanova hurriedly closes the shutter of the round hole. He then again leans on the grating's sill, and for 8 hours remains silent and immobile in a trance-like state of semi-sleep. A few hours before sunset, the bell of St. Mark's clock tower tolls. A deafening sound fills the cell, breaking Casanova's trance, but he does not move. 3 more hours pass. Unable to bear his abandonment any longer, he explodes in anger. Enraged, he stamps his feet and bangs at the door, all the while cursing. He then opens the door shutter. Casanova, Conti, in a loud, angry voice. By God, will you leave me here to die in this fetid hole? No drink, no food, no bed, no chair. You pitiless sons of dogs. Why, even the worst of criminals sentenced to death is worthy of at least bread and water. Spiri, filthy, heartless, cruel pigs, cursed and damned sons of Mephistopheles, do you not hear me? Casanova vents his spleen in this manner for more than an hour. When he stops, he is breathless. Paralis, in the background, in a calm, steady voice. My dear Giacomo, get away from that grating. I'm afraid there is no one out there to hear you. Come, lay down and rest. Again, fearing that the rats will get inside the cell, Casanova shuts the grating and in exhaustion falls prostrated on the floor of his dark prison. Casanova, in a raspy, strained voice. It is a cruel fate, Paralis, that I cannot resign myself to. What can I have possibly done to deserve this harsh treatment from the state inquisitors? Granted, I am a libertine, a gambler, and a man who is not afraid to speak his mind and enjoy life. But this is certainly no crime, and I cannot see that I'm guilty of anything. This situation is unbearable to me. By God, why am I being oppressed in this manner? Paralis, not feeling guilty and believing that you have committed no crimes is of no relevance or concern to the people that think you have committed crimes and are guilty. Casanova, sighing. Yes, it seems I have been greatly mistaken in not considering exactly this. Paralis, my dear friend, practicing black magic. Even though you do not yourself believe it, but practice it only for gullible fools, possessing books censored by the Index, being the author of what some consider heretical writings, and your contempt and ridicule of religion is why you have been put in here, in Casanova. Perhaps it is as you say, but this seems only a pretext to me. Exhausted, Casanova falls asleep, but sleep is no respite from the day's painful events. Into Casanova's cell, night, midnight. Casanova is sound asleep. He has been lying immobile for 3 hours on the hard floorboards of his cell. Inside, the silence is deathlike. Suddenly, the bells of St. Mark's Tower toll the midnight hour, and the cell is instantly filled with a deafening sound. Casanova awakens and reaches for his handkerchief, which he distinctly remembers having left on the floor beside him. Instead of his handkerchief, he grasps an icy hand. Casanova shrieks in terror. My God, there is a corpse beside me. Evil wretches who have you strangled. Is it one of my friends that you have put beside me as an example of what is to befall me? God damn you all. In the background, sitting against the cell's wall, we see the ghostly figure of Paralis. Paralis, calmly. My dear friend, keep your wits about you. Things are not what they seem in here. Casanova, panting. Next to me I have touched a hand cold as ice. They have put a dead body in the cell, Paralis. Paralis. Give it a few minutes, Giacomo, and you will soon understand what has happened. Casanova is unable to think clearly and for a time remains motionless. He then tries to sit up, but to his horror the cold hand he had moments ago grasped brushes against his chest. Again he is struck with terror until the mysterious hand slowly begins to come to life, and he realizes it is his own hand which had become numb and stiff from having been compressed against the hard floor. Casanova sighs with relief, shaking his head. It is my own hand. Paralise, laughing heartily. Is it not comic, Giacomo? Why do you not laugh? I cannot control myself. Casanova, thoughtful. This is a most disagreeable place. Paralise and I must be on my guard if I am not to go insane. Inside this prison, I fear that what is false seems true, and what is true seems like nothing but dreams. I must let reason rule and not succumb to a distorted imagination that would contaminate my rational thought by either making me hope for the impossible or by dragging me to the depths of despair. Paralise, well said, my friend. I see that you have chosen to adopt philosophy. The greatest part of humanity dies without ever having exercised their minds. I congratulate you on your decision. Casanova. Yes, Paralise. For the first time at 30 years old, I have chosen to call on philosophy whose seeds I have always had in my heart, but have never had occasion to appreciate or put to use. Int. Casanova's cell, July 27th, 1755, second day of imprisonment. Day, dawn. It is 5:30 a.m. Casanova has remained sitting in the same place for 8 hours, anxiously awaiting the coming day. The sun will not rise over the Venetian lagoon for yet another hour. Casanova, enthusiastically, I am certain I shall be set free today, Paralise. Oh, how I seek revenge on those that have put me in this prison. I wish nothing but to exterminate and massacre every last one of them. Paralise, be calm, my friend. Do not let your thoughts run astray. Let reason rule. It is anger, your greatest enemy, that speaks these words. Casanova sits quietly awaiting the dawn. He becomes less enraged. Casanova, relieved. Finally, Paralise. I hear the screech of bolts opening doors in the garret. Paralise. Yes, Giacomo. A sweet sound to break this infernal silence where living men are entombed. A half-hour passes. At the cell's grating appears Lorenzo the jailer. Lorenzo, grinning and in an insolent voice, have you had enough time to think about what you want to eat? Casanova, calm and not betraying his anger. I would like a rice minestrone, a piece of boiled beef, a roast, bread, wine, and water. Lorenzo does not answer and leaves surprised that Casanova has not grumbled or complained over the long wait. After a quarter hour, he returns. Lorenzo, annoyed. I am astonished, sir, that you do not ask for a bed and other things you will need. If you believe that you have been put in here for only one night, you are mistaken. Casanova, then bring me what you think is necessary. Lorenzo, where shall I go for it? Here is a pencil and paper. Make a list. Lorenzo hands Casanova paper and pencil through the grating, and Casanova begins to write. A few minutes after, he hands Lorenzo the completed list, but Lorenzo does not take it. Lorenzo counted, you will do me the honor of reading it to me, signore. I have not been fortunate enough to learn how to read. Casanova, very well, you are to procure me a bed, shirts, stockings, dressing gown, slippers, nightcaps, an armchair, a table, combs, mirrors, razors, handkerchiefs, ink, pens, paper, and the books confiscated by Messer Grande. Lorenzo, you can scratch out the books, ink, paper, the mirror, and the razor. These items are all forbidden in the Piombi by regulation. I will need money to buy your food. Casanova has 3 zucchini, out of which he gives Lorenzo 1. Lorenzo leaves, and behind him again is heard the clanging of doors as he locks them behind him. Int. Casanova's cell, day noon. Lorenzo returns, accompanied by guards whose duty is to cater to the needs of state prisoners. They all enter the cell to bring in Casanova's furniture and his dinner. The bed is put in the alcove, and his dinner is laid out on a small table. Lorenzo, I am afraid your table service will consist of only 1 piece, signore. Pointing to an ivory spoon on the small table, Lorenzo counted, forks, spoons, and knives are all forbidden in this place, as are all metal utensils. You may order what you would like to eat tomorrow, because I can only come here once a day at dawn. Casanova, thank you. but you have forgotten to bring me my books, for I do not see them anywhere. Lorenzo, the illustrious secretary has told me to advise you that he will send you more suitable books, for the ones you want are forbidden. Casanova, annoyed but not showing it. You may thank the secretary on my behalf for the favor of putting me in a cell by myself. Lorenzo, I will tell him so. But you make a mistake jesting. Casanova, I do not jest. It seems to me it is better to be in a cell alone rather than having to share it with the criminals that must be confined in this place. Lorenzo, taken aback. What are you saying, sir? Criminals? Why, I am offended. In here you will find only the most respectable people that need to be kept away from society, for reasons only their excellencies know. They have put you in this cell alone to punish you more severely, and you want me to thank them on your behalf. Casanova, I did not know all of this. Lorenzo and the guards leave Casanova's cell. Once again is heard the clanging of the doors locked by Lorenzo. Paralise, sighing. Ah, Giacomo, I'm afraid that ignoramus jailer is correct, as you will soon discover. Casanova, with disdain. Lorenzo is a fool of the first order. What can he possibly be right about? Paralise, yes, he is surely a fool, but even a fool at times can exhibit a scintilla of wisdom. A man imprisoned all alone in this place, given no possibility to occupy himself, relegated to almost perpetual darkness, and only able to see once a day the man who brings him food without even being able to walk upright in his cell, is surely the most unhappy of mortals. Casanova, sighing. Perhaps this is true, Paralise, in which case I will soon desire the company of fiends from hell, rather than be locked up alone. Paralise, in this prison, my friend, you will soon come to desire the company of assassins, madmen, those stricken with plague, or even a bear. The solitude of the Piombi brings on the deepest of despairs, but one needs to experience this before he will believe it. Casanova, pensive. Paralise, if they will only grant me paper and ink, my tortures will decrease by 9/10. Casanova moves his table by the grating where there is a glimmer of light and sits down to eat his dinner. Having not eaten for over 45 hours, he is only able to swallow a little of the minestrone. Not feeling very well, he spends the remainder of the day in a state of calmness, sitting in his armchair, anxiously awaiting the following day, and preparing his mind to read the books which have been promised him. Casanova spends a sleepless night, kept awake by the noise made by the rats in the garret, and the chime of the bells of St. Mark, which seem to be striking in the cell itself. Night also brings the torments of hell, with the many lice that have infested Casanova's body, greedily feasting on his blood. Int. Casanova's cell, July 28th, 1755, third day of imprisonment. Day, dawn. At first light, Lorenzo, with one of his guards, arrives at Casanova's cell. Lorenzo, I trust you have had a good night. This man will tidy up, sweep your cell, and make the bed. Here is water for you to wash, and I have brought you your dinner. The guard can be seen busily performing his chores about the cell. Casanova, I would like to go outside the cell to walk and get some fresh air. I have been locked inside this box going on 3 days, and as you can see, I cannot stand up properly. Lorenzo, the regulations forbid it. There are the books the secretary promised you. Lorenzo points to 2 very large, thick volumes that guard has placed on Casanova's table, and then he and the guard leave. Again is heard the clanging of doors being locked. Casanova sits at the table where the books have been placed, and eats the minestrone while it is still hot. He looks at the books with interest and picks one up, positioning it so that the beam of light coming from the grating falls on its title page. The light is enough to easily read by, and he reads the title aloud. Casanova, La città mistica di Suor Maria di Gesù, detta da Greda. I have never heard of this title. Paralise, and what other pearls of wisdom have they brought you to read, my dear Giacomo? Casanova, La dévotion au Sacré-Cœur. This one is written by a Jesuit. I do not know this title either, nor have I ever heard of the priest. Paralise, I doubt if either volume will be to your taste. I suspect that they are both filled with religious rantings. Casanova, undoubtedly, for I am certain that the secretary is bent on reshaping my mind, whose free thinking he must find a danger to the Serenissima, though I do not know why. Int. Casanova's cell, August 5th, 1755, 11th day of imprisonment. Day, afternoon. 9 days have gone by since Casanova received the books from the secretary. These are the dog days of summer. The heat under the lead plates that covers the roof of the ducal palace is intense. Casanova sits in his armchair, stark naked, with sweat streaming from his body and puddling onto the floor. During this time, he has run out of money, and he has been granted 75 lire a month by the tribunal to provide for his needs. Since he can now barely eat, this is more money than he needs. Unable to obtain books or gazettes from Lorenzo with this extra money because it is forbidden, he occupies all of the daylight hours sitting in his armchair by the light of the grating, reading the books provided by his secretary. Although this has alleviated some of the misery of living under the Piombi, one of the books has brought on a whole new misery of its own. The scene opens and we find Casanova conversing with Paralis. Casanova, the Jesuit who wrote this magnum opus, was an ignoramus of the first order. Casanova looks at Paralis and points to a thick book on the table. Casanova, Conti, he proposes a new cult calling for the adoration of the heart of Christ and speaks of the heart as the most suitable organ of our Saviour to adore. This is such a bizarre idea that only an ignorant madman could concoct it, because to my way of thinking, the heart is an organ no more respectable than a lung. I found the volume so revolting that from the moment I turned the first few pages, my mind could not bear the insult of reading it. Paralis, laughing heartily, and the other volume by the nun. How have you found it? Casanova. The mystical city, on the other hand, is a little more interesting, and the need to occupy myself with something in this infernal place has kept me busy with this book for a whole week. But I would have done better to stay away from this book as well. The volume is filled with nothing but extravagant and monstrous chimeras presented as revelations. The delusions of a Spanish virgin, bigoted, melancholic, sequestered in a convent, and guided by ignorant and flattering confessors. Paralis, I concur, my dear Giacomo. You should have left this book alone as well. No matter how rational a mind one possesses and how well educated one is, to read such a delusional work in a place like this is certainly harmful, if not outright poisonous to your very being. Casanova. It is, as you say, Paralis. I have been feeling the effects of reading this masterpiece designed to drive one mad. My nights are filled with grotesque dreams with which Sister Mary of Agrada has contaminated my mind, already weakened by melancholy, want of good nutrition, exercise and fresh air. Paralis, you must fight for survival in here, my dear friend. Signor Cavalli knew well what he was doing by providing you with these poisonous books. Casanova. Yes, I had suspected as much, but I have always considered my mind insusceptible to the unreasonable and fantastic. How wrong I was in thinking this. Paralis, many illustrious and learned men have made the same mistake within these walls. Human intellect is not an absolute force. In truth, it is only a relative one, and he who examines himself in depth will find only weakness. The Serenissima has great insights and a long, uninterrupted experience in discovering the workings of the human mind. It knows how to make it malleable to its purposes. Casanova. I have come to learn precisely this by my experience. As rare a thing it is for a man to go insane, it is in fact very possible. Our reasoning faculties can be likened to gunpowder that can be easily ignited, but which without the required spark remains stable. The Spanish nun's book is exactly what is needed to drive a man mad.